Hello and welcome to Intellings, where we delve into the most impactful works from authors, researchers, and experts across various fields. If you're eager to explore groundbreaking insights into language, cognition, and human nature, you're in the right place. Today, we're exploring a seminal work that has sparked extensive discussion and debate. The Language Instinct: How the Mind Creates Language by Steven Pinker is a book that revolutionized the way we think about language. It challenges long held assumptions and introduces a new way of understanding how humans acquire and use language. Imagine if our ability to use language isn't something we learn from our environment, but is instead an innate faculty, hardwired into our brains by evolution. This is the compelling thesis that Dr. Steven Pinker, a renowned cognitive scientist and psychologist at Harvard University, presents in The Language Instinct. Published in 1994, the book argues that language is a human instinct, as natural to us as the ability to walk. Dr. Pinker challenges several widely held beliefs about language. He questions the notion that children must be explicitly taught to speak, suggesting instead that they naturally acquire language. He also disputes the idea that language is deteriorating over time, or that non-human animals can learn language in the same way humans do. Central to his argument is the concept of a universal grammar, a set of linguistic principles shared by all human languages, which he believes is evidence of our innate language faculty. One of the most compelling aspects of the language instinct is how Dr. Pinker supports his arguments with a diverse array of evidence. He draws from studies in linguistics, psychology, and neuroscience, as well as examples from popular culture and everyday life. For instance, he discusses how children in multilingual environments can spontaneously develop a Creole language with consistent grammatical rules, even when exposed only to pidgin languages lacking such structure. This phenomenon suggests an inherent capacity for grammatical organization. Dr. Pinker also explores cases of specific language impairments resulting from brain injuries, such as Broca's aphasia and Wernicke's aphasia, to illustrate how certain areas of the brain are specialized for language processing. Additionally, he examines the critical period for language acquisition in children, comparing it to similar periods for sensory development in other species, like vision in cats. The reception of The Language Instinct has been largely positive, with many praising its engaging prose and thought-provoking content. On Goodreads, the book holds an average rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars, based on over 17,000 ratings. Readers often commend Dr. Pinker's ability to make complex scientific concepts accessible and entertaining. One reviewer notes, with deft use of examples of humor and wordplay, Steven Pinker weaves our vast knowledge of language into a compelling story. Language is a human instinct, wired into our brains by evolution. Another reviewer highlights how the book changed their perspective on how language works, writing. Before reading this book, I assumed that language was purely a learned skill, developed through exposure and repetition. Pinker completely changed my understanding. The way he explains how language is structured within the brain is fascinating. Over on Amazon, the book holds an average rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars, with thousands of reviews praising Pinker's clarity, wit, and ability to make complex ideas accessible. One reviewer writes, an absolutely eye-opening book. Pinker takes what seems like a deeply complicated subject and makes it understandable, even fun. If you're curious about how language works, you need to read this. Another reader describes their experience. The Language Instinct is a must-read for anyone interested in linguistics or psychology. Pinker has a talent for making science entertaining. The examples he gives, from children's speech to the evolution of English, make this book a joy to read. Despite the overwhelming praise, The Language Instinct has not been without controversy. Some scholars challenge Dr. Pinker's nativist perspective, arguing that language is a cultural artifact rather than an innate biological instinct. For example, linguist Jeffrey Sampson contends that language is a learned social behavior, emphasizing the role of environmental factors in language acquisition. Critics also argue that Pinker downplays the significance of social and cultural influences in shaping language. Others have criticized Pinker's dismissal of alternative theories, such as those proposed by cognitive linguists like George Lakoff, who emphasize the role of metaphor and conceptual structure in shaping how we use language. While The Language Instinct remains a landmark text, it is just one side of an ongoing debate in the field of linguistics and cognitive science. Beyond reader reviews, The Language Instinct has been widely discussed in academic circles and mainstream media. The New York Times Book Review praised it as a dazzling, big-picture look at one of the most fundamental aspects of human existence. The Washington Post called it a book that changes the way you think about language forever. The book has also been influential beyond linguistics, inspiring discussions in fields ranging from artificial intelligence to philosophy. Many researchers in AI and machine learning have referenced Pinker's work when discussing the challenges of natural language processing and the differences between human and machine learning. The book is filled with thought-provoking insights, but perhaps its biggest strength is that it makes language fascinating for non-specialists. Pinker's wit and humor make the book an enjoyable read, even for those without a background in linguistics. His ability to break down complex ideas with relatable examples is one of the reasons The Language Instinct has remained a staple in discussions about language for nearly 3 decades. For those who are interested in the science of language but worry that a book on linguistics might be too technical or dry, The Language Instinct is an excellent starting point. It offers a blend of scientific research, historical anecdotes, and modern-day examples that make the subject come alive. So, is The Language Instinct worth reading? Absolutely. It's a fascinating, well-researched, and deeply engaging book that challenges conventional wisdom about language. If you are interested in linguistics, cognitive science, or psychology, this book is a must-read. If you are simply curious about how language shapes human thought and interaction, you will find it both enlightening and entertaining. If you're interested in picking up The Language Instinct, you can find it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other major bookstores. That's it for today's episode of Intellings, where we review the latest and most thought-provoking books from authors, researchers, and experts. If you enjoyed this discussion, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into the latest groundbreaking books. Until next time, stay curious, keep questioning, and explore the wonders of the mind.